Welcome to my new format, which I'm trying out, which is 10 minutes wine talk about today, about Campania, but it can be anything on a journey through Italian wine, lesser known wines and more well-known wines. So today I'm going to talk about Campania because in May, the end of May, I went to Campania Stories, the 2023 edition. And it was very exciting because it was taking place in Irpinia this year. Irpinia is this huge area in inland Campania where three of the DOCGs are made. So it's the Diretto di Tufo DOCG, the Fiano di Avellino, and the Taurasi. With the Taurasi, then of course with the Aglianico. I visited three wineries there. That we got a closer look at, and it was 𝒕𝒊𝒕𝒆, which is a traditional winery in Irpinia, producing Taurasi wines, but also a very exciting, very nice 𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒆. Then I visited Masseria della Porta, which was the first winery. He came to pick me up at the train station, the owner. And then we went directly to the vineyards. It was a sunny day in May. Luckily, it was not raining yet. If it was raining almost every day from late April to late June. And it was very exciting because we had a discussion about winemaking, the styles of wine. And he told me that he wants to do a wine that is drinkable, yet that has the complexity and structure that the Aglianico wine and the Taurasi wine should have. And his wines, I must say, are, I would probably call them contemporary, because they have all the characteristics of a Taurasi or of Aglianico, because he also makes a Aglianico EGT wine. I think it's an EGT, yes. And he does it from, he has a couple of hectares of vineyards, and the upper part where the soil is more black and volcanic and more fertile, he does the Aglianico wine. And then from the lower part, which is more clayish or calcareous, he makes the Taurasi. And the wines are fresh, and they're not, I mean, he used, of course, oak, which is, for the Taurasi, it's obligatory. And he also used some smaller oak and also sometimes some big barrels, but you don't really feel the too invasive, the oak in the red wines, which you often do in some other Taurasi wines. I mean, there's a lot of producers that make fantastic Taurasi wines, like, of course, 𝒕𝒊𝒕𝒆, where we also tasted, I think it was 2007 or 2003, I can't remember. And of course, Milena at 𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒆 is also makes very nice Taurasi wines. But to get back to Masseria della Porta, I think it's the younger winery. He started to recuperate the vineyards of his grandfather in the early 2000s, but it's only in the last few years that he has started to bottle and produce more in a more structured way. And I think he has a very nice view upon making wine, because he says he wants to make a quality wine. So he's, of course, lowering the yields to be able to do the wine he wants to make, because he says he wants to give an expression to the local territory and what the Aglianico actually can give. And he wants, of course, complex wines, as I said, but he doesn't want to make wines where you have to wait perhaps 15 years to be able to drink them due to the tannins and the stringency and aggressiveness of the tannins. When we talked about his tannins, he says he called his own tannins that they're of course perceivable, they're there, but they're also quite smooth already at the young age of the wines. So I was very impressed with Masseria della Porta, and there were also some other wineries that I will come back to later on in the Irpinia that I visit, like Masseria di Alfano, who is also, well, not young, but he's younger, as his winery is fairly young. He said that his parents, because he's also doing research in another field, the medical field, so that's his main job. And he says that his parents asked him what the present he wanted for when he took his degree, and he said he wanted a piece of land. And so they bought this piece of land in the 𝒃𝒊𝒕𝒆 area, where he's making wines since I think around 10 years or so. And I'm coming back to him in an article further on that you will be able to read better. But the other winery I want to talk about, because the last day I got a full immersion into Benevento and the Sannio area. So basically I did 5 wineries in one day, and I was all alone, so I got really a VIP treatment. And the first winery, because it's Carlo Ceparano in Tenuta Sant'Agostino. So basically he's working with other things in Naples where he lives, but he decided to take over the vineyards of his grandfather that were in the family, but I don't know, I think they sold the grapes or if they didn't really cultivate them at all. And he found that they had grapes that used to be common in the past, so Trebbiano Toscano and Malvasia, but he also have Aglianico. And his idea was to only do the fermentation, maceration, and the aging in terracotta jars, so in amphoras. His winemaker is Vincenzo Mercurio, and he told this funny story about that he started out and then COVID hit, and they had put the harvested grapes to ferment and to macerate in these terracotta jars. But due to the COVID, they couldn't open them because the enologists could not come. So instead of doing the maceration for a shorter period, they do them for 8 months in the end. And they thought that there would be nothing, there, because it wasn't a controlled maceration. And then after 8 months, when they could finally meet at the winery, they opened the jars, and it looked like, because the capello, the cap that was covering the skins and the grape juice, it seemed very aseptic, and it seemed that there was no flavors or perfumes there. But then they decided to open it up anyway, and to kind of see what was there, and they discovered there was this amazing, not only the amazing hue of the color, but also the flavors and the aromas. And then they decided they would do, even the next year, the year after, I think 2021, they would do 11 months of maceration. I think I'm right with years now, I'm not sure, but I think it was 2021. They had put probably in earlier vintages to macerate. So now he does 3 white wines, so 1 Trebbiano, 1 Malvasia, I think, and 1 which is a blend Trebbiano and Malvasia. So the 𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒆 Trebbiano, I tasted 2017 and 2019, and it was very interesting to see the differences. So of course you had more complexity and fullness in the 2017, while 2019 was still fairly young. And but I will look up the years and the information better. But I mean, I wanted to pinpoint this because I think it's a very interesting, small, tiny winery, and they don't have a winery themselves or a wine cellar. They do the vinification or the winemaking processes at Fattoria La Rivolta. And that's another thing I thought was very interesting, because you could really see the collaborative spirit. So basically, they're hosting Tenuta Sant'Agostino and their winemaking, and they do it together at the Fattoria La Rivolta. And also, when we did a tasting, we did it all together. So first, we tasted the 4 wines of Tenuta Sant'Agostino, and then after that, we tasted the Fattoria La Rivolta with the cellar manager of Fattoria La Rivolta. And it was a great way to be able to compare and to discuss the different style of wines, but also the food processes behind it. So I'm sorry if I haven't been, so the information here is not like very detailed and about each wine, but that wasn't my idea either about this live, which is going to be a bit longer here. But I wanted to showcase a bit the complexity also of Campania. So you have many different areas. Of course, the Sannio that I've been talking about today and the 𝒃𝒊𝒕𝒆, but you also have like other areas I've been writing about before, such as the Vesuvio, the Alta Caserta with the Palladirello. Then you have the area around Naples, the Amalfi Coast. You have the Cilento, which is a newer winemaking area. But also where they're now doing really interesting wines and high quality. And close to Salerno, of course, you have Milavuolo and Viticoltori di Lenza. Lenza and Vuolo are making a bit more lower intervention wines, just like Tenuta Sant'Agostino. And in Irpinia, it was interesting to see. So the Masseria della Porta is in organic, I think. I don't know if they're certified, but they're trying to have also a low impact as possible in the vineyard. Masseria Alfano also, they're still in conventional, but they're trying to limit the impact as far as possible and be as sustainable as possible. And I think they're still both using selected yeast. I think the Masseria della Porta does a selection from their own vineyards, from the area. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and it's not only the big players anymore that are in Irpinia. I mean, Irpinia is an area that, you know, Aglianico, I think, and Taurasi should be one of the three main red wines of Italy, together with the Sangiovese and the Nebbiolo, but it's always been a bit in the shadow, probably also because the territory, as a lot of the winemakers say, hasn't managed to unify and to communicate a unified identity as a sort of brand. I don't know if a consortium or an area should be talked about as a brand, but as an identity that you can then communicate abroad. But it's still, it's a huge area. There's a lot of production going on. There's a lot of things going on. I think Aglianico is becoming more and more well known, also for a larger audience, and I think that's really great. Sannio and the Benevento, of course, is already quite well known for their Falanghina and also Aglianico production, because a lot of the sales come from there. But I mean, there's also these kind of niche things going on, like I'm talking about the Tenuta Sant'Agostino, which they have the vineyards just by the river, I think it's the river Calore, if I'm not mistaken. And also on the areas that used to belong to the 𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒆 cooperative, I think. Let's see if it was yes, the river Calore, so which is in the area of the Agro Beneventano and the commune of the municipality of Solopacca. And so there's a lot of really interesting things, and I will come back to this in an article. And I think on tomorrow I will do another short live. Tomorrow I will also go and taste not Campania wines, but wines from Valdarno di Sopra. So it's Sangiovese mainly, but the Fattoria di Bellosprado, where I'm going, also has a winery in Armenia. So that's the cool thing about that winery. So I will tell you more about that tomorrow. If you like this kind of short format, today was very improvised because I just wanted to test it out. They're going to be around 10 to 15 minutes. My idea is to give small inputs about where I've been, what I've been tasting lately, some ideas about the things I've seen, or the winemakers I've met, and what's going on. So if you like it, just drop me a comment on LinkedIn, and then I will try and reply. And you can also sign up for my newsletter below. I will drop the link very soon in the comments below. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you tomorrow.